Hey y'all, we're gonna do a little video on here on my boat build that we did, kind of start to scratch from this little 10-foot Buster boat. I got this boat pretty cheap, and you know, it was just the plain plastic, so I decided I want to put a deck on it. And this one here is it's less than 4 feet wide. I mean, really, for one person, it's not bad at all, but for two people, I would really recommend, if you're going to spend the money, might as well get one just a little bit wider. So what I did is I made an intro video when we first started this, but then somehow I lost it. So we're going to do an intro video now, which is kind of better, so I can go over some of the things that I like, don't like, or whatnot. So I'll show you how I started framing it. So when it came with these, it already had these pieces of angle that were attached to the boat right there. They were riveted in. And you can see, well, all I did is I put a 2x6 running the length of this whole thing right here. And that was my start of how I did everything. And then I just kind of decided how big I wanted my boxes. You know, I kind of laid everything out ahead of time. I decided what would fit my batteries. And so you can see each one. So I've got the two main 2x6s, and everywhere I wanted a box, I just put another 2x6. And then as I went down, I figured out, you know, I knew I wanted two batteries, one for the trolling motor and one for my electronics. So the basis of this is real simple, just 2x6s here and there. And I decided I wanted those to go all the way down, so then I wouldn't have tackle, you know, falling up under there. So then all I did was whatever the dimension was left is a little less than 2x4. So I just got a 2x4 and ran through there. So some of the things I do like, I really like these latches here. I got these really cheap. These were like $5 online. And then I went ahead and put a cam lock, so you know I can lock all this stuff. You know, that whole saw goes all the way through. Got the Minn Kota battery charger. Man, this thing, I love it, because you just plug it in and it automatically trickle charges these batteries, and if you accidentally leave it plugged in too long, it doesn't matter, because it won't burn up your batteries. And then that's also some tackle storage in there. Just a little one for random odds and ends thing, and my remote for my trolling motor. Of course, I got the two batteries in there. I know that's overkill on batteries, but I thought, well, if something happens and my trolling motor battery runs dead, then I've always got an extra one that I can hook onto it. Got another tackle storage here, and I made these to where I put that piece in the middle for support, and the way my tackle boxes work out, they fit in there perfect on each side. And then I've got some rod holders here for when you're using it and want to leave it on deck, and then when you're traveling, can put them in there. This is where I ran my wiring for my electronics to come out right here. And then I put this on so you can attach my screen to it. I really like this trolling motor. It was about $1,100 on Amazon, but it's got the spot lock on it. You know, it's not the fanciest one ever, but at the same time, it's got spot lock, and it works perfect for this little boat right here. It's the 45-pound. And this trailer here, I built this trailer also after I bought this boat. I just kind of figured out what it needed. It's a real simple design. It's just got 3x3 11 gauge for the frame all the way around, and then stuck the boat up here and marked it, and then just put a couple pieces of 2x6 and some of this cheap carpet that you can get at Lowe's, and it wrapped around there so it'll have something to sit on. Those on each side, of course. And then I bought this pretty cheap little boat winch right here, and I had to redo this once. I wasn't thinking about how close that would get to that, so I had to cut this off and back it up so I'd have plenty of room to be able to suck that tight up against that. And of course, just built Most of this out here is just out of angle iron, and I ran that out quite a ways with the main 3x3 going in the middle, and all this works pretty good. We've hauled it, you know, quite a bit actually, and this trailer's been good so far. Just plain Jane simple deal. And these seats, I like these. That pin can come out, so you can pull that seat out if you wanted to going down the road. This is just an old one that I happen to have, a swivel one. It works really good. I like that brand. I think there's about $100 online right now. Then I just screwed this little, thanks for just random tackle that you're using right at the moment. I try to keep a couple pair of scissors in there, and it's got a drink holder if you need it. It's been really handy. So now next I'll move on to some of the videos on how I actually put this thing together. So before I got everything on here, I was trying to figure out what kind of hinges I wanted, so I decided to go with the cabinet door style, European or concealed, whatever you want to call them. And I only left myself an 1/8 of an inch gap, and it's rubbing just a little. I knew I should have went 1/4. So it's a good thing, kind of, these hinges right here, pain in the bucks. You have to drill, you get a hole saw and drill a hole in there, and then you've got to adjust them anyway. So it's always a good idea to kind of do one and dry fit it before you get everything in there. So now I know I have to go back and put a 1/4 inch gap in there. And then I realized my pedestal overhangs this a little bit, so I'm gonna have to move this over and double this up, so I'll have plenty of room to have my pedestal and be able to open this side. I wanted to, since I've already got this, I want to use it for storage, so I'd do a little bit of modification as I go, slide this over. Hey, to another thought, as you're taking all these off and sanding them and setting aside, on the bottom side, probably want to number them. That way you make it a whole lot easier when you get back to put it on. Make sure you don't put the wrong one in the wrong spot. Little quick tip, so I've got to notch around these places in the boat where it's molded out. So I put my board up there and drew it out, and even though I've got a jigsaw, sometimes those hard angles are hard to make it turn and fit. So what you can do is you just cut some notches in there, and then when you come back and start your jigsaw, it's a whole lot easier to turn that tight corner right there, because those pieces will start falling out as you go. Okay, so same idea here. You know, this particular boat has these little notches that go up in. I'm kind of debating on whether to leave it open, but I think we'll go ahead and close it off with run that plywood all the way up here. So what I'm going to do is just same concept there. I took me a little square piece of cardboard. I'm going to mash it up in there and kind of cut around there, and then what we can do is cut this off where it's not hanging over, and then just tape that to that, and then I can take this whole piece of cardboard over to the piece of plywood, lay it on there, trace it out, and then we should be really close to fitting in there once we get that plywood cut. So we got that step done. Put another piece of cardboard in there, that way we can get where those, tape it down to this, that way you've got one solid piece for a jig to take over there to your main piece of plywood and start cutting it out. I started the cut. I cut what I can, all the straight lines with the skill saw, and then I'll go back to the jigsaw. The jigsaw takes so long, like doing all my straight cuts with a skill saw first. Okay, we got the plywood cut, got it in here. Had to make a little notch for that bolt there. I offset this a little bit to the sides, the way my trolling motor looks like it's going to sit in there. I didn't want it to get in the way. Fit up pretty good, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and wait to screw this down until I get it finished and everything else. Then I'll come back, get all the wood on there. Pretty much the same process as the rest of this. make my measurements, cut it out, get it all dry fit, make sure it's going to work, and then come back and stain it all, and then get ready to screw it down. Okay, we've got everything cut, and I laid it all in there and got everything dry fit. Everything fit up pretty good. So now I'm just taking all the boards and taking some rough sandpaper and knocking all the edges off. I'm not going to put carpet on this, so I'm going to do a stain, a real thick texture stain. So it's more important to knock all the burrs and splinters off of these, since it won't have carpet wrapped around it. So the type of stain I'm using requires a all-in-one wood cleaner. So we laid these out. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. You mix a gallon of that with a gallon of water. Scrub them down real good, rinse them off the water hose, and let them dry for 24 hours. Okay, so while I'm waiting on the plywood to dry so I can coat it, so I bought one of these transducers here. I already had a Lowrance 9-inch that's got the side imaging and everything for my pontoon boat, so I thought I might as well get a transducer. That way I can use it, that 9-inch on this bass boat. So on these little plastic boats, there's really not a good place to mount a transducer down here. So what I decided to do is just make my own. So I got some angle iron. And if you don't have a welder and a cutting torch, you could use aluminum angle, and you could cut the pieces and rivet them together. So I just cut the length I needed, and then kind of fitted up here to know what that angle was going to be, and then marked it and cut it like that. So that first piece will sit on there. I put some holes in there where I can drill straight through there, hold that down, and then now what I'm going to do is figure out the angles that I need to come out and down. And I dry fit, went ahead and put this up there, decided where I wanted it, marked it. That way I know how far down this needs to be. And once again, this is where cardboard comes in really handy. I think what I want to do is take that angle iron and kind of wrap around that a little bit, so I can get, because that thing sticks out almost 1.5 inches. If I wrapped around that, I'd be able to keep that as close to the boat as possible. If I stuck it out here, you'd be way out here away from the boat. So I think I'm gonna try that. Okay, we got all the boards stained. We went with this textured stain. We'll see how that works out. I've never used it. Went ahead and stained all the inside framing here. Now it's time to put the hinges on. Like I said earlier, I've got these different style of hinges. So they're European or concealed. So you have to use a hole saw. So we got a little hole saw, and it says to only go 7/16 inch deep. So what I did is took a little duct tape and wrapped around where 7/16 was, and it wasn't quite deep enough. So you can see I went a little deeper than that, but then you put those hinges in, and then the good thing about these type of hinges is they got a couple of screws in there that you can adjust, the in and out if it doesn't fit quite just right. You can adjust it there. But the nice thing is there's no exposed hinges, so then once you get all this down, you have a completely flat surface. So we're going to work on the hinges now. And for out here, where this is a little lower than this, I need to have something to rest on. So I just bought some angle iron, and I'm going to cut that down and rivet that in next. So I've got these angle pieces cut. So I just cut them with chop saw and then just kind of rounded the edges. I'm going to put them down here to give that lid something to sit on. So to make sure I've got the right height, I'm just going to lay the level across here. We're not worried about looking at the level itself because the boat's not sitting level, but you just want a flat surface to get across there, and then you can mark on the bottom of that. And as long as you put your angle iron at the same, it'll all work out and all be level and flush. So when it comes to having to rivet something in, and the reason we are because this is pretty thin plastic, and I don't really want to drill through to the outside here. So rivet can be a little time consuming, but once it's in there, it's a good tool. You can buy these rivet guns pretty cheap at wherever, Home Depot or whatever. So you got your rivet here. You just want to get a drill bit that's the same size as that thick part. So then, like, you've got your hole down here, and that rivet fits in there just right. You know, get your holes in, line it up, and then drill through into the plastic, and then use that rivet gun. So this rivet gun comes with different sizes there. So all you want to do is just check, see which one fits best. You know, and then you can just unscrew these and screw them in that top there. So we got these 3 angle pieces in here. Now it's time to set the rest of these hinges. I put this side in, the door side in first, and then you make sure and you've got enough room there. So that's just kind of sitting right now so you can move it. So you want to get it, like I say, it's always good to dry fit, make sure everything's going to work before you start drilling holes. So we know we got about a 1/4 inch gap there. So it's time to drill these in. So when you're installing these hinges, it's really important to, like I say, you got to use a hole saw, but you don't want to go all the way through. So this is after you drill it, you're left with that chunk of wood in there. So just take your little, any kind of screwdriver or some kind of deal, and you pop that out of there. Usually pops out pretty easy. If not, you kind of might have to go in there and waller that out with a screwdriver just a little bit. But just make sure you don't go all the way through, and that way that hinge sits flush down in there and it's not showing on the back side, which will eventually be the top, like this one. The other important thing to think about is you want to get your doors in first, because the doors are pretty much going to have to be where they are. And that way, when you come for these solid pieces that won't have a door on it, you make sure you have the same amount of gap all the way around. When you already have the doors in there, and if you need to fudge it one way or the other, you can. The rivet gun is pretty simple. You just, like I say, you put that piece out in there, slide your rivet gun on, and you're just going to squeeze it until it pops itself off. Some of these bigger, these bigger ones are harder to do, but then they will hold better. So just squeeze. You might have to squeeze it a couple times, and that thing will eventually snap off. And then you've got a nice rivet in there that'll hold. Okay, so luckily those they fit good without modifying those. Like I say, they've got these set screws that goes up and down and left to right, but that fit really nice. So once again, as I'm fitting everything up, I don't have this bolted in yet. I just kind of want to sit there, and these aren't bolted in yet, so my spacing's not right. So just make sure you can open your door from every angle that seat's going to be. You don't want to get everything bolted up, then couldn't open this. And try to decide which way to open this. I'm going to open it from this side, still be able to open all the way with that, and then you can get down in there a little better. Well, we're here on the maiden voyage, have everything put together. We'll see how it all goes. The only thing we still don't have in the mail are the handles, so right now I've just got to screw in so I can open these all up. We got a tackle box here, got a rod box here, got the battery set up here. Got one battery for the trolling motor and one battery for the lower ants, which we decided not to bring the lower ants today. Everything out here is real shallow, is where they've been biting. So that's a little overkill battery for the lower ants, but I thought, well, just in case, if something happens and the battery dies on this, we have an extra one. So got my transducer back here. So we'll see how it goes. I got a picture already. Okay. All right, you ready to let him go?
Picture like this?
Yeah, I got a good one.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Oh man, I was shaking.
Pull him back and forth a little bit. There he goes. Holy moly.
Oh gosh.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little something. Give us a follow. We're always building something or going fishing, hunting, whatever. I've got a hog trap that I built and I need to add the video on it. Hopefully it'll be coming up pretty quick. So thanks for following. I appreciate y'all.